All right. Well, I'm going to go through this and then I'm going to kind of speed through stuff that I know you guys know. And then just stop me and feel free to like interject and, ask questions and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to share my screen here and I'm going to this is an old presentation that I've kind of updated. So it has an old picture on here because I didn't update the picture. Oh, look, there we go. So 7 simple steps to growing your Young Living business. We are starting with the very basics. So some of this is going to be super basic for you guys, and some of it is going to be, this side, is going to be really, it might go a little bit deeper, and you might have some questions. So I'll speed through the stuff. But you guys actually came along a little bit later, so you may not know what our growth looked like early on. So I will share that with you. And this is what it looks like when everything works together in the right way. Momentum, and it's crazy and it's awesome and it happens really, really fast. One of the things that I'm learning is I know people go, oh, well, this was before compliance. The reality is the only reason compliance was an issue is because the FDA, the conduct stuff that kind of cracked down, is because people had a hard time learning a new way of sharing. It really doesn't make a difference to people on whether or not they sign up or whether or not they're interested. It's just people have to learn a different way of sharing, and not everybody wants to do that. So signing people up is just as easy if you're willing to share the benefits of what Young Living can do, because people can fill in the gaps. They know what Young Living can do. If they're interested in natural health and wellness, they can do that. So, and people are having this kind of growth now. We have teams and in our organization that are hitting momentum, that have come in after compliance, that don't have the baggage of having to learn a new way. They just learned the right way from the beginning, and they're seeing this momentum there. So I don't want you to look at this as like that's not possible now. It is absolutely possible now. So I taught my first class in August of 2012. So in January of 2012, I taught about maybe 3 or 4 classes, maybe 1 class a month between August and January. I don't think I taught anything December. So maybe only 3 classes before January. I had 9 people on my team, in January. By March, you can see I have 21 team members. That's what that lower number is. And I'm at 2,700. So I'm at Senior Star. And that was when I realized I had a business. That was when I really started to look at this seriously, and I learned the compensation plan. We hit executive in June with 6,000 in volume. I went back to work in August. This is when I went to work. I went from homeschooling my kids, where I went to work, back to teaching full time. And I told my team, I cannot teach any classes. Like, I'm just not going to be available. And so when all that growth in the fall, I taught 1 class. So the reason why that growth happened is not because of the things that I did, and it's not because we did nothing. It's because there were people on my team teaching classes, lots of people, and I was not available to do it for them. Maybe they only taught classes because I wasn't available. I don't know. Maybe that was like, the kick in the pants they needed. But there were just a lot of people interested at the time, and so a lot of those people in those early classes, when I'd have a class of 5 people and they were all already signed up and had all already attended a class. That happened several times, and I was like, guys, this is the same class. It's the same intro class I've always taught. Like, it's nothing different. But those are the people that went on to teach classes when I went to work. So don't ever get discouraged if you have an intro class with the same people coming all the time, because what they're doing is they're learning. You're training them to be able to do what you're doing. And so even if you're like, oh, I don't have anybody new that would be able to come, it doesn't matter. Have the class anyway. Get those same people coming in, those same people learning, because they're going to start sharing ideas. They're going to start educating one another, and then they learn more and they learn how to teach. And so it becomes a really amazing thing. When they are ready to step out and teach, or they do have to step out and teach, you can go, you already know how to do this. This is easy. So we hit silver in November at 32,000, and I quit my job. I quit teaching, and I taught through December, but I was done after that. So this is what that first year of really doing the business looked like for us. we went from 1,400 in January to 30,000 by the end of the year. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. That's not because I was doing 8 classes a month. No.
Yeah.
Like I never did more than 3. And it was because we had so many people that were doing their own. Stacy had moved off. She had to do her own because we weren't local to her. And then when I started teaching, Lisa Jaquez, Jessica Boyd, Candy Warren, and Carrie Lavelli, Rachel Shower, even if Tiffany Cole had moved up to Missouri and she was teaching up there. So all these people that that train and teach in our tribe now were teaching and training then. And so it just became everybody suddenly was teaching classes, and that made it so much easier because it wasn't just one person doing it all. So this is what it looked like that next year. So this 2014 was just as crazy because we went from 34,000 in January. In March, I think we hit gold. And then in November, we hit platinum. So, or October, we hit platinum, somewhere around there. But we went from 34,000 to over 200,000. So that was our growth in those 2 years. And so that's crazy growth, but that's with people sharing consistently, lots of people sharing. And then in early 2015 is when you had the FDA crackdown. So you have a lot of those sharers that backed off and that stopped sharing. So now we're rebuilding that, and we're really either re-engaging people or training new people. But I want you to know the kind of momentum that can happen when you get things going the right way and when you get people excited and they're sharing. So what did we do? People want to know, what did we do? Did you do social media? Did you do in-person? So this is what we did. Basically, these 7 steps. I'm going to keep moving this little thing around here because it gets in the way. I know you guys can move your own, but mine is the recorded one. So basically 7 steps. Some of these are going to be super basic and simple, and you're going to get it. Others, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to have some questions about that, and that's fine. Use the products, of course. This is a product-driven company, and no matter what, I think this is one of the things that sets Young Living apart. We do not lead with the business. People that do lead with the business, I feel like they really struggle. They don't do very well because it's such a product-driven company. Most of the people that grow, I can't think of one person that I know of that came into this company for the business that has been really successful. And if they did, it's because they fell in love with the product and then they grew their business. You cannot grow this without loving the product and using the products. Learning the basics doesn't mean learning everything. Okay. And there's a huge difference. You need to know some basics. There are some things you need to know, but you do not need to know everything. In fact, learning everything can actually be a detriment to you. We'll talk about that. Sharing the products.
Green personality.
Yes. You don't need to know everything. Sharing the products, sharing your stories. We'll talk about compliance. That might be a good place to park for a second if you have compliance questions. Teaching others, sharing the benefits, and then duplicating yourself. So we'll talk about all the things that we did, and then whether early on, some of these things we did right and we didn't know we were doing them right. We just did it. Some things we did wrong and we learned and we changed the way we did it. I've seen other people struggle in areas, and so we'll talk about some of those as well. So, do not want to mute my audio. Okay. The first thing is use the products. You guys both do this, but I'm going to go through this just for the sake of the recording. Yeah. Okay. So get on the Essential Rewards program. If you are wanting to do this as a business, then you need to be using the products enough that you need to order them every month. If you're just using essential oils, unless you're like an avid oil user, I will be honest, I am not an avid oil user. I have not applied one oil to myself today. I have taken a whole handful of supplements. I've taken my Ningxia Red. That's what I do. Like I have diffused oils in my house today. But personally, like applied oils, like I know people that they use so much oil every day. Like they could place an ER order every single month for oils and that would be fine. Me, my ER order is supplements because that's what I love. And that's what's made a huge difference in my life. So that's always what I'm going to gravitate toward. Doesn't mean I don't believe in the oils. Doesn't mean I don't think they're amazing. They are. I just don't have I'm really bad about a regimen. Jason's way better at that than I am. And I carry them around with me and I use them when I need them. So if you want maximum bonuses and commissions, besides obviously the product side of it and you actually having personal stories, which we'll talk more about later, if you want to earn the maximum bonuses and commissions, you need to have 100 PV in your ER order every month. I'm not going to go into commission and compensation and all that breakdown, but if you order 100 PV in your ER order every month, then you know you are earning absolutely everything you can. So that's important when you're actively growing the business. Now, one of the things I tell people is if you're just getting started, let's say you're teaching your first class and you don't have anybody under you yet, and your budget's really tight, order 50 PV for the first 3 months, because that will get you pretty much everything. You are signing people up, you're ordering 50 PV, you're going to get those fast start bonuses. Again, I'm not going to break all that down, but you're going to get those fast start bonuses. You'll get a couple of paychecks under your belt. Then you can bump it up to 100. So we're not talking about like putting your family in a bind. And no matter what, I have to remind myself of this, 100 PV a month, about $100 a month, $120 a month investment is nothing compared to many other network marketing companies. That is your personal use. We don't have to keep stock of product. It's one of the things that's amazing about Young Living. So just budget it out. You know, when we first started, of course, when I first started with Young Living, I got on Essential Rewards right away, but I was not doing the business. For a full year, I didn't even teach a class. I wasn't making a paycheck. I was not doing any of that. But I had it budgeted out. But there were times where, you know, things happen in the budget and something has to get cut. And Young Living was always one of the first things that had to get cut. So what I would do was open up my order to other people and say, hey, do you need anything? Because I wanted to make my ER order and I wanted to be able to, because it couldn't come out of my pocket, but I wanted to get my points and I didn't want to lose the points that I had and I didn't want to lose my percentage. And so that's what we did. I mean, for the first year, there was really this kind of juggling a little bit to make sure that I got my points and I got my order in. And there were a lot of times when I'd have 150, maybe even up to, I think one time I had like a 600 PV order and like 50 of it was mine. And I earned like all of the promos and everything. I remember being like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And that was before I was signing anybody up. So anyway, so just budgeting it, right? Try something new. You start earning the promos at 100 PV. We have an insane amount of products. And I've been doing this for 6 years and I have not used all of the products. I think somebody was posting about the Regnolone cream. I don't even know how to say it. I've never used it. Like, I don't know. Could be great. Could be amazing, but I've never used it. I had never used the Stellite Magic until last summer. And I was like, oh my goodness, this stuff is amazing. So don't be afraid to try something new. And a lot of times for me, that's where the promos come in. The promos a lot of times are things that I've never used before. And so when I get them and I realize how amazing they are, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love this. Sulfurzyme was one of those things I'd never tried until I got it as a promo. I think Believe was a promo, the oil, which is my favorite oil now. If I would anoint myself with an oil every day, that would be the one. That's the one that I use the most. I love it. And so don't be afraid to try something new and different, because as you have those personal experiences with those products, it's a lot easier to share about them. I don't consider myself a salesperson. I consider myself an educator. And so it's easier to educate people about products that I've actually used and have personal experience with. Otherwise, I'm going to pull somebody else's personal experience and be like, okay, I haven't used this, but my friend over here had this experience with that. No matter what, I'm going to bring in somebody's personal experiences. So use the products. All right, this is Essential Rewards. You guys know this. So the only reason I put this in here is because even though you know it and you're on Essential Rewards, it is so important to go through this to a point where you are super comfortable sharing it with others. Because we sometimes, and I was guilty of this early on, we sell ourselves short and we make the decision for people, and sometimes we don't share this up front. And I'll talk about that a little bit later too. Sharing Essential Rewards up front as an option, not as a like, hey, you need to do this right now, but hey, this is an option for the future, because you want people to know it's there. For me, my budget was super tight when I signed up with Young Living, but I needed the products. We needed them. Titus was on a high antioxidant supplement that was costing us $50 a month anyway. And so when we switched to Young Living and I started using Young Living, I was like, we can switch to Ningxia Red. And that was one of the first things that we had on our ER program. And so I was like, we need this. And I need those points for my budget. So don't ever say this person doesn't have the money, so I'm not going to share that with them, because we couldn't afford to not be on Essential Rewards because we needed the product. And our budget was so tight. So just share it no matter what. And I'll talk about a good strategy for doing that. So just go through this. Make sure you're super comfortable with this, that you know this. And sometimes I have to think about it because the ER program has changed. So I have to go, okay, it's 10% the first 3 months. Yes, okay, 10% the first 3 months, 20% month 4 through 23. And then after 2 years, you start earning 25% back. Every single month I place an order with an ER order that earns me all the promos. So it's at least 300 PV, usually about 400 PV. I get those 25% points back. So I have about 100 PV in points, and I redeem ER points. Every single month I do an ER order and I do an ER point redemption order. I don't let those points sit there at all. Letting people know that 1 ER point equals 1 PV. So it's basically 1 ER point is equal to $1. It's, super easy. You get to choose what you're going to order, and what's going to come in there. One of the things I've been doing is I use the wording subscription. It's a monthly wellness box or a subscription box, because those are a lot of fun and people do them all the time. The bark boxes for your pets, I've done, what's the clothing one? I can't think of what it is that I've done now. But I've done the clothing one where they send you a box of clothes every month and you try them on and decide what you want to keep. And so there's all these different subscription boxes that people think are a lot of fun. But when you say auto ship, it has a negative connotation to it. So I try to avoid the term auto ship, and I say a monthly subscription box. You get to choose what goes in it, and you just earn points back. It's just a loyalty program, a preferred customer program, that kind of thing. Special ER promotions. That's something that's been new within the last year or two. We're now at 100 PV. If you're on Essential Rewards, you get some special, Vitality Oil or whatever. Flat rate shipping, which is a huge deal when you order Ningxia Red ER kit every single month. Special pricing on ER kits. So I get the Ningxia Red ER kit. That's going to be the best price for Ningxia Red per ounce for our family. So just sharing those options with people up front is going to be really helpful, and you utilizing those. I've heard people say this, and leaders talk about this, and I think it's really important. I'm going to mention it here. If you're not maximizing the promos, like if you're not maximizing, and I know you're not going to be able to do this early on from the very beginning. Like I said, it's okay to start out 50 PV for the first 3 months. Get your paycheck actually, paying for your order. But if you're to a point where you're pushing all the promos every single month, like, oh my goodness, in November, the frankincense is amazing, but you aren't personally taking advantage of that, then you are a salesperson. So you need to make sure that you're really taking advantage. How can you go, how can my family use this? And really buy in so that you can see the value to your family, so that you can share that value with others legitimately without being a salesperson. Because if it's something you don't feel like is worth it for you, it's really hard for you to turn around and then go, I think this is worth it for you, but it wasn't really worth it for me. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that there's not going to be budget issues or things like that every month, some months that happen. But just keep that in mind, that if this is your business and you're really growing it, that's kind of part of the investment, is really seeing the value in earning all of those promos. Okay, so the second thing is learning the basics. All right, here we go. Are you ready, Marie? You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to know where to find them. And this is so great when you're starting out. I think one of the things that really helped me early on is I had no idea what I was doing. I taught my first Intro to Oils class before I'd never even been to an Intro to Oils class. I'd never been to one. And Shanna asked me to teach one, and I was like, okay, I don't really know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. So I messaged Michelle Skochuk, and she said, here's the outline of what we do. I was like, okay, I think I can do that. And I just did it. And I didn't really have all the answers. And so when people ask me questions, I'll be like, I don't know. But, you know, we were a part of a bigger group, Oily Wisdom, which was April Pointer's Facebook education group at the time. Kind of like our tribe now. It was big. It had like over 1,000 people in it early on. It got bigger than that pretty quick. And then the FDA thing happened. They shut it down. But I would say, I don't know, go post it over there, because those ladies know, if I don't know the answer, they will. And so, so that was a big help. Getting the essential oils desk reference was great. I'm not the type of person that's going to sit and read the desk reference from front to back, because green is my lowest shade. I like to have resources. Like that's really important to me. I think maybe that's the red in me. I like to be able to find the answers when I need them, but I don't care to have them all in my head. That's fine. So I utilize these things, whether it's a pocket reference, a desk reference. The Higley reference guide, I keep that in here, even though Mary Young does not like the Higley reference guide. And so I want to tell you guys that up front. She does not recommend it, but it is user-friendly. And we've used it for years. Oiltestimonials.com. The virtual office, the member resources section in the virtual office has a ton of stuff. Over the last 18 months or so, they've added so much stuff there that I think we forget to even think about going there. So starting to direct people there so that they're getting answers directly from the company, which gives them some weight and legitimacy, is really, really important. Live chat. If people have questions about the product, and if they have questions about ingredients, they can actually email product support@youngliving.com and get answers about ingredients, whether it's things are gluten-free and stuff like that. A lot of times I don't have those answers. I'd be like, I don't know, because they reformulate things, you know, quite a bit. And so I'm going, I'm not sure if this is kosher, or if this is halal, or if this is gluten-free or vegan. I don't know. So just email product support and then you'll get the answer that you need. And so, so directing people there, that's okay. That's really, really good. The worst thing that you can do is be the expert and be the sole source of information for people. You want people to know that you don't have all the answers, because number one, they see that, okay, she's learning this somewhere, so I can go and find that information myself. You're providing them information, resources for them to get the information themselves. And the other thing is they can see, okay, I don't have to have all the information to share. I don't have to have all the answers to share. It is okay to say, I don't know, and I don't have the answer. There's this thing that we teach in education. Right now, education, probably in the last 10 years, education has had this huge shift from actually teaching facts, especially in like history and science. Yes, there are some things that are factual, you know, dates and things that won't change, but there are so many things that are changing so quickly. Information that's coming out, and we're learning stuff so fast. There's so much information at students' fingertips that what they're really focusing on is teaching kids what's called information literacy. So that is teaching kids enough basic information in science or literature or history that they can then go out and do effective research to know what is good information, what isn't good information. That is the way that educators are having to completely change the way that they teach, because kids these days have more information available at their fingertips than ever any generation before them. So we have to think about that with our team and with people that come into us. It is not our job to give them all the answers. No, it is our job to provide them with a basis of information, the basics, and then resources for them to learn more. I have been very good. YouTube, you guys can go to YouTube, is really great. Lots of great information, business and product. And then Facebook, obviously there's the tribe, Young Living's pages. All the different countries have pages. Even the US has a Spanish page and an English page. And then the EOC, the Essential Oil Club, Jim Bob Haggerton, they always have great information in there. So there's so many great resources for people to really learn in-depth information. So it is not my job to be at someone's beck and call. It is not my job to answer messages at 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes I will. If I'm available, I will. It doesn't mean that I don't. But if I get someone messaging me, I'm going to tell my secret here, but if I get someone messaging me questions over and over, and I've given them a reference guide, and I can, if it's once, every couple of months, somebody messaged me a question, I'm not going to be afraid to answer it with whatever's off the top of my head. But if it becomes pretty consistent, then I might just find myself out of the house and not having my reference guide handy. I'm sorry, I don't have my reference guide handy. I'm not going to be back home till later this evening. Even if I have an answer in my head that I could give them, I will purposefully not give it to them, because I want them to know that it's okay for them to go and look in the book. I learned this stuff from somewhere, and it's from the book I gave them. So go and look in their book and go research, go figure it out. It's okay. And sometimes people need that little nudge, because we're so trained in our society, especially the older generations, are so trained to listen to another person or another expert, that it's hard for them to kind of take that on themselves. And they feel like if they're reading, it's not the same as somebody telling them personally. Does that make sense? So I think some of that takes a little bit of you're training your team to go and do their own research, to educate themselves. And this makes it so much easier for compliance too, right? I mean, one-on-one, I can say whatever I want to somebody. I can share a personal testimony with a friend. I can give a recommendation to a family member, and I'm not afraid to do that. But if we can train our team to go and find the answers for themselves, then it makes everything so much easier. And their journey is more effective because they're able to really dive into areas that they need answers for. Okay. The next thing, so you're using the products, you're learning the basics. Now you're sharing, okay? Now it's sharing. And we talk about sharers versus builders a lot. Builders are people who are building a business, okay? The first three here, this could be a hobby. This could still just be, you're just sharing here and there. There's the sample packets. You can send somebody home with a lavender packet and your diffuser for the night to help with their toddler who won't sleep through the night. The dram bottles are my favorite. I love the dram bottles. I was going to see if I had one here. I don't think I do right now. I have one handy. But I love the dram bottles. I actually just sent a dram bottle to the lady who gave us the dog, Griff. Griff is his name. I gave her a whole box of oils. But one of the things she said, do you have fun? And I said, well, I have it, but I don't have an unopened one. But I'll send you a sample. So I sent her a sample of Ula Fun. And so I love the dram bottles because they can use them and reseal them. The packets are better for diffusers because you can't really reseal them. I feel like you end up wasting oil unless you have a big family and you're like using it on everybody all in one night. So I keep dram bottles with me in my little kit, and I keep my kit of oils in my bag. So I'm carrying oils with me all the time. Carry them with you. Use them in public. I use them in the airport. I use them before I go in somewhere. This is a big thing because people will smell them on you and they'll be like, oh, you smell really good. I've handed out cards to people because they said I smelled good. What do you have on? Why do you smell like that? When I go work out, a lot of times, I didn't do it this morning, but a lot of times I'll put Breathe Again right here. And so they're like, oh, we always smell you when you're coming in here at my Pilates place. So carrying them with you gives you the opportunity to also use them or let other people use them when they need them. How many times do you run across somebody and they have an issue come up and you go, oh, wait, I have something for that. I mean, I remember being at soccer games and issues coming up and being like, oh, can I put this oil on your kid? And then, yeah, sure. And so just carrying them with you gives you the opportunity to let other people use them. And if you're using them, it makes sense to carry them with you. In fact, yesterday, Titus left church early. He went to Grammy and Papa's afterward because he was not feeling the greatest. And so I sent him with my oils. I was like, here, take the bag of oils and just put whatever on you that sounds good to you, and it was because I had them on hand. The next thing is be a blessing to others. Sometimes, especially as you're getting started, you can kind of want to hoard your oils. There are two ends of this spectrum, so we're going to talk about both ends, so don't worry about it. But on one hand, you may not want to, you'd be like, man, I don't want to, this is an expensive oil. I don't want to give them a sample. Like, or should I charge them for that? Be a blessing to people. Let them try the oils. Once people try the oils, that's usually all it takes. And then you're going to reap the benefits of that, whether it's now or a couple years down the road. You've planted a seed. So don't be afraid to share the oils with other people, whether it's just a drop out of your bottle or a little dram that you give them. But the other thing is, don't let people take advantage of you. So especially if you have a network, a community where a lot of you use oils. There is bound to be one person that will go person to person every time they need an oil, and they will get a sample from you. And they'll switch up who they're getting samples from, and they will never order oils, and they will never sign up. And we've had this happen, and it's like, you have to cut them off. Be like, no, you have tried the oils. You know they work. Now it is time for you to actually pay for them, So there's a difference. If it's somebody that's never used them, that wants to, they just wants to try and see that they actually work, that's great. If it's somebody that's like coming to you for their third or fourth or fifth sample, it's okay to say no. It is okay to set a boundary there. But sometimes, I've felt led to grab oils at times. I don't know, one time, I can't really tell this story, but because I can't tell this story, but there was a guy in our cast at a show. So I'm going to tell this story the best that I can. There was a guy in the cast of one of our shows that we were in. I'm trying to remember what show it was. I think it was Fiddler on the Roof. So this is several years ago. And I just felt led to grab certain oils that I don't usually carry with me. And he was dealing with some issues. And I was like, this is why I was supposed to grab this oil. I had never talked to this man about oils before. I wasn't even like super close friends with him. Like, I just kind of knew him through the show. And I totally gave him the oil, and I was like, listen, just use this oil. I gave him the whole bottle, no questions asked. Like, I don't even know that I followed up within. Sometimes you just feel led, and God leads you to give people oils for a specific purpose, for a specific reason, and you don't really think about the return. And that's okay too. So just allow God to lead you in that, but don't be taken advantage of if somebody is doing that too. So, okay, the next thing is tell your stories. You have success stories. We all do. And you have success stories that you can share compliantly. So this is where we kind of talk about compliance. But you can share them with friends and family. And if you're sharing one-on-one, you can share your story in detail. The reality is your friends and family that know you really well, that may know the heavier things that you've been dealing with. When you say an oil has helped you with something, you don't even have to give them all the details because they already know all the history of everything that you've dealt with. Seeking out testimonies to share with those who need them. So sometimes when you have family, sorry, I'm nudging my table. Sometimes with family members, they don't want to listen to you. I don't know if you guys have that problem, but I've had that problem. Family members don't want to hear from you. They don't care about your experience because they just, profit in their hometown or whatever, or something like that, right? Is not believed. I don't remember what the saying is, but anyways, one of the things that I found that's really helpful is to actually find other testimonies that are not mine, that are relevant to what they're going through. So that oiltestimonies.com is really helpful, and I will literally copy and paste a testimony from there. And I've shared it with people, specifically in my family, that have been like, oh, wow, now suddenly they're interested, because it didn't matter that I said that this would work for this particular issue. They needed to hear a testimony from somebody that was not me. So that makes a difference. Share your stories on social media. So I did not grow. I was not a blogger beforehand. I didn't have some crazy huge network. I am a connector. So I'm the type of person that will friend anybody on Facebook that I've ever met. Like, I have friends from kindergarten that I'm Facebook friends with. Like, hey, yeah, you were in my kindergarten class. Sure, I'll friend you. Unless they are weird or creepy or giving me some reason to not be friends with them, then absolutely I'm going to friend them. So I stay connected to people. But other than that, I didn't have any particular like amazing or incredible network or blogging or anything like that. But I utilized social media just to share our stories and share the experiences that we were having. And that's why Shanna was actually interested in having me come teach, because I was saying, hey, we're using even simple things, lavender for sleep and things like that. If you're sharing online and on social media, you have to share compliantly, but that's not so hard. And you guys know how to do this. Stick to body systems, stick to emotions, stick to energy, and you're good. With emotions, as long as you don't go into, clinical things, then you're fine. And just don't go into detail. If I'm using a certain setup of oils for a particular issue, I might post a picture and say, man, I'm really needing these oils today, but I won't say why. And I won't say what particular issue I'm using them for. It creates interest. It creates curiosity, but I'm not being non-compliant. Somebody messages me privately and asks, then I'm in a personal conversation with a friend, and I will share with them whatever I want to about what I may or may not be doing for my body personally. So those are simple ways to share compliantly. The other thing about sharing online, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later. I know you guys have probably heard me say this, but don't worry about graphics and things being really professional looking, because we have this filter on our brains for that we filter out advertisements. We are so inundated with ads, especially online, on Facebook. I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, that when the Facebook color blocks or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you can have your Facebook status in the little color thing where it makes it look like a graphic or whatever. I automatically scroll past those. Do you find yourself doing that? I do, because I think, oh, that's a graphic. That's not somebody's personal status.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even see it and recognize it as that, because my brain registers that as an ad or a graphic or something like that, right? Photos with pictures of their face or their families, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna see that. Status updates, I'm gonna read that. So make sure it's actually better for you to just do something kind of makeshift and authentic to you than it is to share like something from Young Living corporate. It doesn't mean I don't ever share a great blog post from Young Living or whatever. I will share those, but I share a lot of my own personal experiences in with that. I'm going to share a picture with you guys. This is one of the first things that I shared on social media. That was one of my big testimonies. And it was a picture. This was the petrochemical detox. And I was like, hey, I had a great success with this. So I shared a photo of it. This was over the course of 3 weeks, about 10 applications, and over Easter, which means I did not change my diet, at least not significantly, for enough time for it to make a difference. And so I've had 2 C-sections, and this changed the shape of my body. And so I tell people that, and when I would say that, when I started sharing, these people were like, what did you do, and what is this? Like, these oils are something a little bit different. So find ways to make a difference in your life and then share those stories with people. And I know sometimes those stories may be something you have to share personally, one-on-one, but do that. Share them personally. Share them one-on-one. Make sure that you are getting those stories out there. Okay. Let's talk about social media a little bit more. Facebook. So 80% of the time spent on the internet is spent on Facebook. Guys, I very rarely check the weather anywhere but Facebook. I follow Pete Delkus and I follow Steve McCauley, who are my local weather guys, and North Texas Storm Chasers. Like, even weather and news, I do on social media and on Facebook. So and you guys know this too, even if you're scrolling the internet or doing something else, you probably have a Facebook tab open, right? So that's just the way that we live our lives. And it may not always be that way, but right now, that's really how it is. So utilizing Facebook makes sense to at least share what it is you're doing. In order to really utilize Facebook, you have to have an engaged network there. So this means you have to engage in Facebook. Don't be a Facebook stalker. Don't just go and like other people's posts. This is what my Mima does, guys. She goes and she likes all of our posts and she comments on our posts, but she never posts anything, hardly anything. And so my Mima is a Facebook stalker. She's on Facebook all the time, but you would never know it unless I'm posting stuff and she's commenting on it. So but when you engage, you are actually creating connection. It's not just about you always commenting on other people's or whatever. It's actually you sharing some of your life. So Dr. Henry Cloud, who's a psychologist, talks about this with boundaries. He talks about safe people and unsafe people. And he actually talked about an unsafe relationship being where one person is always the sharer. And I'd never thought about this before, but we all have those friendships, right? You have the friendships where you're the one that listens, right? And you give advice. And then you have the friendships where you share and you take advice, right? But imagine that friendship where they share and they give and you give advice. That is very unbalanced. There is no vulnerability on your part in that relationship at all. So it's very little, that is a very unsafe relationship for this person right here. I had never thought about that before, but when we think about social media and connection on social media, it can be very similar. When we go and we post on other people's, and comment on other people's posts and we like their posts and things like that, what we're creating is an unbalanced relationship where we are giving a lot, but we're not willing to be vulnerable and actually share anything that's going on in our lives. And so it's not, I don't want to say it's inauthentic, but it's not as strong of a connection as it could be. It's not as safe of a connection as it could be. And people feel like while you're always there for them, they feel like they don't really know you. So in order to really create authenticity and connection and what's the word I'm looking for? Influence in the lives of other people, we have to be willing to share ourselves. Okay? There's a balance here because people think about oversharers on social media, those people that are posting 500 pictures of their new puppy every day. I'm sorry, guys. You're just going to have to deal with it, okay? Probably at least for the next week, you're going to get there are lots of pictures that I have not posted. I'm really trying to refrain. So I've taken like 10 times more pictures than I've actually posted. But we need to actually get in the habit of sharing ourselves with people, okay? And that can be, and that may not just be on social media. That might be in person too, if you have a hard time with that. But actually post about your life. If you're not actively engaged as far as posting on social media, the first thing you have to do is start posting at least once a day. At least once a day, post about your life. And I have the 1 to 7 rule. If you post 7 times, 1 time post about Young Living. So if you're posting once a day, then you should only be posting about Young Living once a week, because there is nothing that sends people running for the hills faster than you suddenly start posting, but all you're posting about is Young Living. You may not feel like that's what you're doing because you feel like you're engaging with people in a lot of other ways, but go back and actually look at your posts and see, what am I sharing in my life? Maybe you're sharing about your kids, assembly, or where you went to dinner, or, some special event in your life, or, that there was a weird looking bug in your living room. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what it is. You're sharing your life and interesting things that are happening, and it creates connection between you and other people. So when you do share genuinely, oh yeah, my goodness, for me this week, it was the jet lag thing. Not sleeping. I am sleeping, but I'm not sleeping at the right times. And so I woke up, it's 1:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, and I was awake until 6:30 in the morning. 1:30 to 6:30, I sat in my bed and read Percy Jackson on my phone, Lightning Thief, because I'm about halfway through it. I'd never read it before. And so, and had the brightness turned all the way down on my phone, so I didn't bother Jason, but I didn't want to get out of bed. So I shared that on social media, that was a problem that I had. So then Saturday night, what did I share? I shared a picture of ImmuPro, which has melatonin in it. It said, this and lavender are going to get me through the night tonight, like we are kicking this. And then it did. And so I went back and updated, hey, slept like a baby. Awesome. So I'm sharing a little bit of my life, and then I see problems maybe that I'm having or struggles. And then I share, what's actually helping me through that. So do that. And don't be afraid to widen your network on Facebook. this is something that would be kind of hard, whether it's Facebook groups that you get involved in. If you struggle to actually have a very wide Facebook network, your PTA group has a Facebook group. My kids' classes have Facebook groups. Our neighborhood has a Facebook group. We have a Salina and Prosper Moms Facebook group. We have yard sale groups. We have, all of this kind of stuff, right? And what happens is, even if I don't pay much attention to those groups, people that know me, anytime somebody comes in looking for an oil, I get tagged in that post every single time. And so a lot of times I'll be like, I don't really sell oils out of my home, but if I have the oil on hand, I'll give this to you, and when you place your order, you can replace mine or whatever. But then people just know me as an oil person. I am now somebody in the neighborhood that's what I'm going to be known for. And that's kind of what I want to be known for, right? Because when people know, like, hey, I'm legit and I do this kind of thing. So if somebody ever wants a class taught or anything like that, great. If I make a connection or a friendship in a group like that, then I actually friend them on Facebook, and then they see my Facebook posts. So the lady I just bought a dog from, I just gave her a whole bunch of oils. She's not a member. Who do you think she's going to come to if she falls in love with those oils and wants to sign up? She's now my Facebook friend. She's going to see my posts over time that I'm consistent. I've told her to come to me if she has any questions and things like that. She better sign up with me, right? I mean, so that's kind of, that's one of those things where you just go, I'm building relationships. I'm making connections wherever I can. YouTube is actually something that is super do you have any questions about Facebook? I know you guys both probably use Facebook a lot and all that. Okay. YouTube is really underutilized, extremely underutilized. Even by me. Most of the people that I've had sign up with me, and I've probably had 10, 15, maybe 20, probably not 20. That's kind of, I feel like pushing it, over the last 4 years that have signed up with me that I don't know, that just signed up with me. And I had a lady do it this week. She literally messaged me, I found your YouTube videos. I'm reactivating. She's been inactive long enough that she bought a new kit. She's reactivating, and she wants to reactivate under our organization because she wants to build a business. Okay, so YouTube is huge. People will go to YouTube. They will search how-to videos. So whether it's making your own scrub, or if you do recipes like with using vitality oils or whatever it is, utilize YouTube and make short little videos. Don't be afraid. They don't have to be amazing. Trust me. And so just find ways to utilize that to as one option to really help you. Oh, it says I have almost 800 views on my Intro to Oils class video. Guys, I feel like I didn't update that number. I feel like we're over several thousand on my Intro to Oils. And some of my business videos have over 20,000 views. Okay, so we're talking like Young Living is just not, there are a lot of Young Living videos out there, but I don't think there's as many out there as what people are actually looking for and searching for. So especially not basics. So utilize that. Pinterest is the one where you have to be careful because it's really easy to post and reshare things that are not compliant. I think they've done a great job cleaning it up. But if you have a blog and if you start blogging, even if it's just a blog you do once a month or a couple times a month, creating a graphic that you post on Pinterest that then links to your blog, and your blog then has a link to your Facebook and your Instagram and your YouTube and all that kind of stuff. The more integrated your social media stuff is, the better. You want to make sure even if you don't have a website, your sign up link is on your Instagram page, or on you're posting it on your Facebook page. If you have a business page, I say stick with your personal page, honestly. But if you have a business page, have a little sign up button. I get clicks on that button probably once or twice a month, and I have not been super active on my Facebook. It doesn't mean they sign up, but they click on my link, right? So you can just really think about ways to utilize technology, utilizing social media and things like that. I'll be talking, and I'll do a video probably tomorrow on China and opening in China, because that It's a whole nother ballgame with that, but just ways to start thinking about connections you or someone you know might have in China. I don't personally have any connections in China, but when we were starting to make connections for Singapore, I actually talked to one of the ladies at church yesterday who had some connections that she thought had connections in Singapore, but he told her, and she told me this yesterday, she's like, he told me, let me know when they're in China. He's like, I don't have any connections in Singapore, nobody that would be interested, but let me know when they're in China. So now she's like, okay, I'm going to reach back out to him. I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is, but I'm just working all of those angles to make those connections. Anyways, and I'll be doing a video in the tribe about how to utilize what I've learned about China and what that market's going to look like and how to start making connections now for them. Because a lot of that is going to be social media driven, which is the opposite of what I was thinking it would be. This could be very much social media type, Instagram, finding people that already have a huge online presence in the Chinese social media group. Okay, so the next step then is teaching others to share the basics. Or teaching others the basics. So you've learned the basics, you're using the products, you're now sharing your stories, you're sharing the products. Then it comes to actually just teaching the basics to other people. You already know them because you've learned them. This is one of the things that Shanna said to me. I was like, I don't know how to teach a class. She's like, well, you've been using the oils for a year. You can't tell me you don't know anything. So come over here and just tell us what you've been doing. And so that's the basics. If you've been using the oils, then you know the basics. You know how to diffuse. You know how to apply topically. You know how to ingest. You know what a carrier oil is. Those things are important. Those are about the only things that are really that important. Everything else people can learn along the ways. So when you teach, you can share the Oil Revolution Design booklet. I just share the issue link with somebody. You can share YouTube videos. So I have Intro to Oils classes on YouTube. You can just share a link to that. There are so many great, easy, simple options for educating people. Tell your stories, your experiences. Teach a class. Just do it. Don't be afraid. You know, you teach, but don't be afraid to do it. And this is what you need to tell other people. Don't be afraid to teach a class because you know how to do this. And one of the things I do is I do a kind of a 3-step process when I'm working with somebody new. I will teach one class for them. I will teach one class with them. And then if I can, I will go and support them when they teach their first class. So that second class where I teach with them is usually lavender. You know what? You have a great story about lavender. Why don't you tell them about it? I totally did this to Ramira in Malaysia because she had told me a great story about frankincense and how it worked for her. And I was teaching a class for her. She'd never actually seen a class taught. So I was teaching a class for her. And I turned and looked at her. I was like, frankincense. And I started talking about frankincense. And I was like, Ramira, you have a great story about frankincense. Why would I do that? Because those people there know Ramira and they don't know me. Okay, other than family, most people really care more about their friends' experiences than some crazy person that they've never met before. So getting her to share her experiences, it was going to relate to her friends better. They were going to go, oh, wow, you had that experience. That's awesome. That's really legitimate. I know you're not lying to me. But it also gave her confidence to go, hey, I actually have valuable information to share here that I can share really easily. So what do people want to know? These are the basics you teach in a class. The 3 methods of use, uses for the most versatile oils, your experiences with the oils, and people want to smell and test them. One of the things that I've learned is that I don't like scripts personally. I think it's good to have an outline. I think it's good to have an idea of what you're going to say, kind of a general, here's how we teach the class. I like using the product guide, Oil Revolution Designs to go through. But if you're just reading something, there's a huge disconnect. You want it to be personal and you want to be able to engage the people that you're talking to. So when I was teaching classes this last week in Malaysia, one of the things that I did said, feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. And this class kind of got very engaging, which was great. Because only one of them is actually signed up and a member, and there were 4 other ladies there. So they got really engaged and they were asking questions, and I was just letting the class go the direction that they took it. And the thing was, we didn't really get through all the information that I had planned to share. But it didn't matter, because what happened was, because they were engaged and I was able to answer questions or give them information based on where they were interested, they left really excited about the products. So that's what I always consider like the number one goal. No matter what you're teaching, no matter what you're doing, make sure people leave excited about the products. Don't feel like I have to get through all this information and it's got to be, if I don't get through everything, it's going to be, no, it's okay. Like if you only get through 5 oils, but they're super excited about those 5 oils, awesome. That's fine. Just go through those 5 oils. So really make it personal to who you're talking to. The other thing is, and I know Sarah Harnish talks about this, we did, for the first full year that we taught classes, we did intro classes. I know right now where we are, you guys are in Texas too. If I call something an intro to essential oils class, people won't come to it. If I call it Essential Oils 101, people won't come, because essential oils are pretty prevalent around here. People know what they are. They have an idea. That's not something that's going to interest them. So I have to think of my target market. Who am I reaching? Who I'm wanting to reach? If I were going to do a class for my neighborhood, for example, most of the people in my neighborhood are moms, kids that are elementary, middle school age. That's most of my neighborhood. They're all like mid-30s, 40s, like that's just maybe early 30s and 40s, kids in elementary and middle school. So what am I going to focus on? Back to school, maybe keeping healthy during the winter months or during the school year, maybe a doctor mom class, which I didn't think was compliant, but there's an RCD that focuses on, always calls everything a Dr. Mom class. So if she can get away with it, then I don't mind calling it a Dr. Mom class, right? What is it? It's still all an intro to oils class. It's all the same stuff, but it's just focused in a different way. If my market and if my network were all young moms with new babies, then I might do a mom and baby class. I'm still going to focus on all the oils in the kit. I might throw in seedlings line too, or whatever, but it's still an intro class. You're just focusing it toward what that market might want. So don't be afraid to take the intro class and title it something fun and do it in a different way or whatever, but it's still an intro class. And I know right now we're having to get really creative with all of that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Find what works, find what people are interested in, and go with that. Okay, share the benefits. This is one of the things that I think we really struggled with early on, is that some people would love to teach, but then people would leave their class and they go sign up with somebody else because they wouldn't realize that person was doing it as a business. That person would never share about wholesale benefits or how to sign up as a wholesale member or anything. So this is one of the reasons why we really talk about this good, better, best way of sharing. And I do this at the end of every class. I've really gotten the habit of doing this. Chris Opfer laid this out at convention last year, and I was like, that makes so much sense. So, because I've always been good about sharing retail customer and wholesale membership. I've not always been good about sharing essential rewards up front, especially with some demographics. Some demographics I'm going, oh, I know that this kit alone is a really big stretch. I hate to even mention essential rewards. But then I have to remember, for us, the kit was a big stretch, and I was still interested in essential rewards. So you can't make that decision for somebody else. So this is what I say. There are 3 options for getting started today, and they're all great, okay? So the good option is retail customer. You can sign up as a retail customer. It's like you just basically go create an account, and you can pick what you want, and you have it shipped directly to you. It's like when you shop online for Target. You have to create an account, or on Amazon, you have to create an account, and you have it shipped to you. You pay retail prices, which I don't recommend, but you can do that if you want to. The better option is a wholesale membership. So they used to be called become a wholesale distributor, and they changed it to membership a few years ago, made our lives a whole lot easier. You get 24% off. So you get a basic kit, and then there are 4 premium starter kit options. And this is a better option because you get the discount, which is the exact same price that I pay. And there's really no risk. And the kit options are the best value. So even if you're like, I don't know that I can afford that right now, if you can afford it 3 months from now and save up over 3 months, I always recommend people wait. Because if they buy a couple of oils now, and then a couple of oils next month, and a couple of oils next month, by the time you get to the end of the 3rd month, they've spent as much as they would have, but they still don't have near the product that they would have, and they don't have the wholesale membership. So I always recommend, if you can save up to do it, do that. And then the best option is get your wholesale membership and add on Essential Rewards. And I go through what Essential Rewards is. This is our preferred customer program. It is a monthly subscription box where you get to choose the wellness products that are delivered to your door every single month. With a minimum of 50 PV, you can actually share that discount with other people, and you can to help make your order. So even if you don't need anything that month, you can still earn points back on it. So you earn a percentage back in ER points that you can redeem for a free product. 1 ER point equals 1 PV. So it's pretty equal, and there are very few products that you can't get with that. You get special ER promotions, flat rate shipping, and special pricing on ER kits. This is what my family does every single month because I can get Ninja Red at the best price in the Essential Rewards kit. So every single month we have an ER order that goes out with Ninja Red and usually a lot of other supplements that we love and an oil thrown in here and there, or a Thieves product that we need. Because of this, though, I actually don't order the Thieves products very often because I use my points for them. I redeem it for things like dishwashing powder and laundry detergent and toothpaste and deodorant, all of that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I very, very rarely pay for. I actually use my points for it. So when you kind of explain it to people in that way, you say, this may not be something you're interested in right now, but I want you to know it's an option for the future. It's something that you can do at any time to start up, and I always want you to know that it's there. So for me, this is something that I always did, but I never really talked about it. I always said I did, but I never put Essential Rewards in it. Is I always like to let people know exactly what all their options were and be like, I don't care which one you choose. I just want you to know what all the options are. So I said I did that, but I never really threw Essential Rewards in there. But now I am, and I have for the last year. I've always put that in there. Our printout that we have for the tribe, I need to go update. Grace just told me that my ER kit prices are not right, so I got to go update the ER kit prices. But our printouts that we have for classes, the tribe printout, have you guys seen that? It actually has this laid out there. It has all the kits. And the Savvy kit, I'm going to try to always keep that updated whenever prices change or the kits change. That's why it's so good for us to have our own, because it's so easy to just go in there to Canva and change a few things and then, re-upload it. But that's something you can just print out on your computer. It has a notes section, a wish list section. It has how to sign up on the back, and everything. Walks people through it. So it's a great thing for people to leave your class with so they know how to sign up when they go. Okay, the next thing is to duplicate yourself. So this is, if you're doing all of those things, then you're growing. The next thing is to get other people growing too. So this is just investing in your team, finding what they need. So if you're staying connected with your team, you know their needs. When you know someone's need, then you can help meet that need. If I know somebody is like, they want to grow this business, but they have little kids at home, then I know that their need is ideas for how to grow this business with kids. And I'm going to be connecting them with diamonds and people that have done this with kids in tow. Because right now I'm not doing that. I did that early on. Noelle has been up to Springfield with me to teach classes. She's been to West Texas. She's been all over the place with me because when I first started, I was homeschooling. I was homeschooling her. I was homeschooling Titus for a while too. So they've kind of been all over with me, and they've been to classes with me. Know their strengths and weaknesses, so you can kind of call out their strengths and let them know, hey, you're really good at this. This is one of the things I love because I can say, in the tribe, if you have questions about vendor fairs, Rachel Barksdale is the lady to ask. Marie, you've done a lot of vendor fairs too. You would be somebody I would be like, do not come to me, because I don't know anything about vendor fairs, but I can tell you some people that have done some and been really, really good at it. People that do make and takes, like I'm not a big make and take person, but we have people in our tribe that are. Like, they're amazing at it. So be like, I don't know much about that, but I know who to send you to. I know who to, you know what, if you need help on doing Facebook Live or organizing classes or getting class structure together or social media or, you know, marketing, I'm totally there to help you. Like, I'm going to give you some great ideas and hopefully some good tips and advice, but I know where my strengths are and I know where my weaknesses are. If you want like structured, administrative, like amazing hostess things, I'm going to send you to somebody else because I'm not usually organized and detailed enough for those things. So knowing that helps you to know how to balance your team, how to help put people together in ways that that helps grow the team, that helps your team be stronger overall. Because you go, okay, you know, if you're doing a big team event, hey, I know this person over here can really do this really well, or I know this person over here can do this really well. That's one of the things I love about the way we do our continuing education classes is having, you know, we're doing it all on Facebook, and ideally they're all going to kind of look the same. They're not, but they're always headed up by somebody different. And so they're always going to have a different feel to them. It's always going to look a little different. It's always going to be different people teaching. And that gives us such a great perspective of all the different styles and ways of sharing that people have. Pray for them. This is a big thing. When you're growing in leadership, and this is something that really comes along, one of the things that you will learn is it's a lot like being a therapist. It's a lot like being a life coach. It's a lot like being a counselor. And when I do my coaching calls with leaders, very little of it is about Young Living, because it is about how are things going in your life. I mean, I've done this recently, sat down with a leader that I know very well, and I started asking about family. I started asking about past experience, job experience, about future goals and plans. Where do you want to go? What things are hanging you up right now? Why do you struggle in this area? Like, I'll ask deep questions. Like, they're struggling a little bit. I could tell they were struggling a little bit with sharing what they were doing with their friends. Why is that a struggle for you? Why is that an area of maybe shame? Or, you know, what does that look like for you? So I will ask a lot of really in-depth questions, because knowing where those struggles are, I can tell them this is gonna be an issue for you. Or you have to really believe that this business is valuable and has trying to think of the right word here, legitimacy, you know, in order to be able to share it openly and confidently with other people, to go like, this has value to me and this is legitimate and it's really going to work. You have to have a belief there, and it has to be so strong that you're willing to overcome what might be a little bit uncomfortable because of other people's opinions about network marketing or natural health and wellness or whatever. So praying for them is really huge through that, and giving them the grace to grow. I would just say, add that in there, because it's not an easy journey to overcome those things. And those are the biggest things. You guys know this because we've sat and done AFT together, bawled our eyes out. We know, like, this is not the easiest. That's the hardest part of this journey. The reality is, everything that you need, all the information and all the resources that you need to grow this business all the way up to Royal Crown Diamond are at your fingertips. You have absolutely everything that you need. There's nothing that you lack. So then why don't we all grow to Royal Crown Diamond? Because of this, because of what's in our own heads, our own inhibitions, the things that hold us back. And so we have to work through those things, and we have to be willing to work through those things and grow. And that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's okay. For you and for your team. So you're not just dealing with your own stuff. When you become a leader, then you're dealing with other people's stuff too. Providing them with the resources they need. This has been a huge thing for me, because early on when we first got started, there weren't a lot of resources for the business. Now there are. Oh my goodness, with Game Plan and all of the great product education resources, even the stuff Young Living is putting out, there are so many resources. Like I said, there's nothing that you lack at all in order to do this business. Encourage them to share with others. encourage them to teach others. This is where that scaffolding comes in. So now you're not just teaching classes for you in your network, but you're going, hey, can I come teach a class for you? This is the level that I'm at, where I very rarely do classes for just my network. Now I'm going and doing classes for new leaders that aren't yet confident enough to do classes. This is why I went to Malaysia. This is why, this is what I did even in Singapore, is meeting one-on-one with a new potential builder there. Went up to Fort Smith and did some classes for them. And now they're doing classes and they're really confident in that. So now when I go up there, I have to do something different, like scans or business classes. Pretty soon they're not going to need me up there at all. Kind of like you guys down in spring. You guys do classes. I'm like, I don't know what I have to offer you anymore than to come down and say hi. And so that's great. That is amazing. I mean, that's ideally what we want. I still want to come see you. I mean, I want you to love me still, but I don't want you to have to depend on me. You don't need me to do this. You know what I mean? You can continue to grow even if I'm not there. So teach them how to do what you've done. Just show them, like, this is so easy. I still have people that come to me and I can tell through a conversation, maybe I'll be meeting with them over coffee, and I can tell just because of some of the questions they ask and their level of frustration, that they feel like there's something I haven't told them. Like there's some kind of secret that I haven't shared. And I'm like, this is really it. Like, this is it. Now, when I started a Facebook page and when I created my website, did I do some marketing research? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I learned how marketing works, and I took some blogging ideas. I didn't really blog very much. I didn't really drive anybody to my blog. Like I said, YouTube has I looked up some ideas on how to post on YouTube and how to have videos on YouTube, but I've never been consistent with that either. So there's not a big secret other than being consistent in doing the simple sharing, the things day to day. Most of my signups now come from seeds that were planted years ago. Most of or from people that just message me out of the blue, hey, I want to be on your team because I saw your Facebook or your YouTube video, which doesn't happen very often. So teaching people how to do what you have done, sharing your successes and your struggles with them. So successes, I mean, we try to do this. We try to be really transparent and authentic with you guys. Y'all know we've been, okay, so you saw all of that. Where were we at the end of 2014? 200,000. You know where we are right now? About 200,000. Here we are in 2018. So we shared our successes. I hope that we've been transparent in, yeah, we had those early successes, but now the struggle has been just that plateau and trying to get that momentum back and get that. And that's a hard place to be. And so we try to be authentic with that, with you guys, and share what is hard, because this business is not, it's simple, but it's not easy. And it does test your patience a lot. So being open with your leaders when things aren't working, sharing with people when you have a class that nobody shows up to. You may not share that publicly on Facebook, but share it with your little group of leaders. Be like, oh man, hey, I had a class that nobody showed up to too. See, that still happens. I've had that happen within the last year. Okay. And I have like 400 team members within driving distance of my house. And I've had a class where nobody showed up. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to share that and be like, listen, I've been there. It gives you that rapport with them, so they don't feel like they're missing out on something. It's kind of part of it. So the goal is to make them self-sufficient and to teach them to make others self-sufficient. So even if it's the business, if it's, ideally we're here for encouragement, for support, but your struggles when it comes to leadership are probably not going to be my struggles. They're going to look a little different. I might have suggestions and ideas. I always can give you a list of books to read because I usually have a good idea. I did that today. One of my leaders came to me and they were like, and just stressing about things. And I was like, have you read this book? Because it's really good. It's a quick read and I think it'll give you the perspective that you need. So having those things on hand, but it's about giving them grace in the growth and really teaching them to be self-sufficient in the process, so that they're not dependent on you for being the only person that can even teach compensation plan or teach a class like this. If you have made it to executive, you can teach other people to make it to executive, right? If you've made a senior star, you can teach other people to make it senior star. If you've made it to star, you can teach other people to make it to star. So I think you have to look at it that way of, no matter where you are, if you've had a certain level of success, you can teach other people to do that. How did you do that? Just share that with them. Well, I just had a class and people came and my upline taught it, or I taught it, for my first time. And so being open and authentic with people in that journey helps them become more self-sufficient, because they realize you aren't the expert even on the business side. So that is it. It is about passion, education, and duplication, essentially. So do you have any questions? I'm going to try to find my little thing is, I'm trying to pause the sharing, but I can't find my, oh, there we go. Okay. I couldn't find my mouse anywhere. So, okay, do you have any questions? Anything? Oh, I can't, you're muted. Go ahead. Do you want me to unmute you?
There it is.
Okay,
you can hear me now?
Yes.
So, yeah. Like when you were talking about China and stuff like that, is there a list in Young Living that tells all of the markets, or how do we find out all that information?
If you go to member resources, there's a little tab at the bottom that says international markets. If you click there, it'll have kind of a list of the international markets where we're open. And then at the bottom, it has a list of some of our NFR markets, which means not for retail. Some of our NFR markets, we do a lot of business in. Like right now, the Philippines, because it's opening in the fall. South Africa, I think, is another one where they kind of have some basic information about those markets, saying, here's what we know, here's kind of the idea of what the tax might be. But NFR basically means not for retail. Young Living does not have license to do business in that country. So anything, people can buy from Young Living, but it's pretty much out of Young Living's hands once it leaves there. So they're not responsible for whether or not it gets through customs and what kind of taxes people have to pay and all that kind of stuff. This is a huge deal in India. Like, I think Carrie was asking questions about growing in India, and India's just been really, really difficult because their infrastructure is so not great in certain parts. And so when I reached out to other leaders, they said in India, they have members there, but they all have family members that live in the US, and they wait for that family member to come over and they order through them, or they place an order and have it sent to them in the US and have them bring it over, because the only way they can ensure that they get their product. So some markets are hard like that. Philippines, super easy. Like, I don't know what the rate is, but we're not even open there yet, but there's already like a diamond there. Yeah, like Philippines is growing crazy fast, and it's not a big deal in that country for us to sign people up. Dominican Republic, we have team members there that are signed up, and not just on our team, but other Young Living leaders have team members in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. I don't know if they count as a U.S., territory. I'm not really sure how that works, but anyways, things like that. There are some countries where it's okay. China is its own ballgame. We can't do anything there until we open in August. They have even put a hold, like there are Chinese nationals that live in Malaysia or come to Malaysia for work purposes, or Hong Kong. We're open in Hong Kong too. And they have put a hold on any of them getting accounts, because what they were doing was getting accounts through Malaysia. or through Hong Kong. And so Young Living has actually stopped that. So they're not allowing Chinese nationals to sign up for accounts at all right now. And so they don't even want us signing people up in China with NFR accounts that are not Chinese, because only Chinese nationals are going to be able to sign up with a Chinese account. So if you have a cousin that lives over there, you know, that's a missionary, they're not going to be able to sign up for a Chinese account in August. They're going to have to sign up for an NFR account anyways, if they want to, but they can't sign up now because they just don't want to rock the boat because China is so strict. And they said the moment we announced that we were opening there, the magnifying glass was on us. Like they were watching every move we make, and they are being very, very just really keeping a close eye on everything Young Living is doing to make sure they're doing things the right way. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've always wondered that because, like you said, South Africa, I have a lady right now that is testing out some oils from me. I've known her for years, but she's from South Africa originally, and that's where all her family and stuff still is. But
I think South Africa will probably end up being the first open market in Africa. I don't know if they have a plan for opening South Africa yet, but I think there's some NFR information there, which makes me think maybe. So.
Okay. And then, do you have anything, Lisa?
I don't think so. Not right now, anyway.
How do you recognize a potential business builder, or can you?
It's hard because you know, people will say that they want to do it and then they don't, and some people will say they don't want to do it and then they do. And so yes, and so I think I think it's just having a conversation, really just, you know, saying, hey, I think if there's, number one, if there's somebody that needs the business and if there's somebody that loves the product, they love the product, they're naturally sharing with friends and family, that's somebody that's going to be on my radar. If suddenly their cousin and their sister and their neighbor are interested in signing up because they're sharing with them, I'm like, hey, like you're doing this. I don't know if you realize you're doing it, but you are. If they have a need for the business, you know, that's obviously going to be something that depending on my relationship with them and how much I know them, you know, that's going to be something that comes up in conversation. But if I see them doing it and I see it coming pretty naturally to them, then I'm just going to go, hey, this is natural for you. This is exactly how I started growing my business. You know, you might consider doing this. And if they're kind of like, I don't know, maybe I just want to keep doing this. Okay, well, let me come teach a class for you. Maybe we can just help you earn a little bit extra, you know, to get through the summer months, to help pay for a vacation. You know, I try to ease into it based on what their needs are at the time and what their willingness is. Because, you know, that first paycheck makes a difference. Usually if you get that first paycheck, then they're suddenly like, oh, wait, now I am interested in this. That's real. Like I really did earn some money with this. And so, but then then you have people that come in, I want to do this. Awesome. And then I meet with them and, you know, we talk about it and then they never do anything, you know, and that's something where you just have to, that motivation can't come from me.
Yeah.
It has to come from them. They have to get to a point where they really, really want it. And it has to be bigger to them than it doesn't. I believe that they want to do it. I just believe that other things in their life are more important at the time. And maybe that's legitimate. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe that's limiting beliefs. Maybe that's fear. Maybe, you know, there could be a lot of other things, but, you know, it's kind of hard to walk down that road depending on the relationship I have with them. Again, it's kind of hard to walk down that road and get too deep into that with somebody if you don't know that because I don't get paid to be a life coach.
Yeah.
You know, I get paid to help my business builders grow. So I can't invest that life coach time into somebody unless I know they're going to be a business builder. And so I think that's kind of where you just have to play it by ear and you have to, you know, let people be where they are Always leave that door open. Have grace. Hey, I know life's busy right now. Whenever you're ready, you let me know. Whenever this, and it's just the opportunity is there for them. They have to take some initiative and do something with it. And so I know one of the diamonds that I heard speak used to talk about always doing something. Like at every step along the way, it was like, here, I gave you some information. Now you have to do this before we go to the next step. Like it was always needing them to actually take some steps and do something before she would go to the next step with them. And I thought that was a really, really great idea. I think Marie froze up on us again. Did you have any questions, Lisa?
Hold on, I'm looking at my notes I jotted down while you were talking here. I can't think of any questions at the moment.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
My internet shut down. Yeah, I have a few people that I've had people that have been signed up for do this, and then I reach out. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Well, we could.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Right.
No, now we hear you. Go ahead.
It worked this whole time. But yeah, and so I do I'll try to, just mentor them and help them out a little bit, and then nothing for months, and then they're like, okay, I really want to do this, and then it drops off again. And so I just keep, like you said, I just keep that grace with them and try to keep it always open, but it is hard.
I just think of there are so many people that talk about, I was with Young Living for this long. Alyssa Francis is one of those people, she was with Young Living and for several years and was kind of a product user. I think maybe she'd made executive, but she didn't really, she had a need. Her husband lost his job. Suddenly she had a different kind of, I have to do this. I need this. And then she did it. And then she shoots up to diamond or whatever, now she's a Royal Crown diamond. So you never know when somebody's circumstances are going to change, when people are having babies and life is crazy, and it may not be the best time for you to grow a business, but you're using the products, you're learning the products, maybe you're growing and working on yourself some. So when the time is right for you to do that, awesome. That being said, there are diamonds that have grown their business with their babies in tow. So that doesn't have to be something that keeps you from doing that either. So I think it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing keeping that grace and just tempering your expectations. Basically not having any expectations. Be like, here's this is what I'll do for you. And I will tell people, this is what I expect from you. And I've had people that I stopped mentoring because I said, I gave you advice. Every time I gave them advice, they would ask about something and I would give them advice and they would have 5 reasons why they couldn't take my advice. And so I told them, I don't think you need my help. I've literally, because it got to a point where it was so frustrating. I was like, I don't think you need my help. I don't think I'm the best person to help you through this because, until they get to a point where they can be coachable. And I've had to do that with some people. If you're going to come in to, this kind of, you will be coachable. You will be, you will make excuses. If you want to get hardcore with this, I totally can. If you need me to kick your tail, I can. But most of the time, it's just people are where they are, and that's fine. We have grace in those moments. So. Oh, you're muted again. Just a second, I'll unmute you. Sorry, maybe there you go.
Okay. So what are your ideas for getting outside of so I have pretty much, I probably have about between 6 and 10 people in like my personal circle that are still interested, and I'm still working with them. And then I've reached out into my neighborhood, and I've actually had 4 or 5 signups from my neighborhood page. And now I've joined my neighborhood welcome committee, which is a new thing. And we're going to be giving out welcome baskets to every person in our community that moves in, which is, we have 3,500 homes here.
Oh, yeah.
And I basically will be the young living person in that. So that's good. But do you have any other advice on how to get outside of your warm market besides asking people if you can teach classes for them?
Yeah. So I think it gets to a point where you have to be willing to go. Obviously, there is your market and your network. So whether it's getting out of your house and making new friends in a completely different kind of circle. It sounds like you kind of have your neighborhood covered. So what things are you interested in? Or what new things are your girls getting involved in? And maybe instead of being on your phone, and this is hard for me too, while you're at their practice, engaging with the other parents, getting to know them, making connections there. But where your team is right now too, looking at those outliers, who's not close enough for you to come to a local class. So who can you go to? Who's within 3 hours where you can be like, hey, a Saturday, I can drive out to you and I can teach a class for you out here, because those are the ones that are interested in you teaching classes, because they see all of us. I can teach a class here at my house, 400 people within driving distance, and nobody shows up. But I can drive to Cisco, Texas, 3 hours away in the middle of nowhere and have 15 people show up, because they don't ever have anything like that. You know what I mean? And so really that's where my growth is coming from personally, is by going, where are the outliers and where can that's why I drive to Springfield. That's why I drive to Fort Smith. That's also why I'm going to Malaysia. So don't be afraid to even take the big risk. And I will tell you guys, like, if you know anybody, and you may think that you don't know anybody that has connections in China or Malaysia or whatever, but you probably do. I mean, I've been surprised that the people that come to me are like, hey, I got a guy at my church that grew up in Singapore. Like, he's a white guy. Did you know, he grew up in Singapore, lived in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia for several years, because his dad was like big, like corporate business guy, and they lived over there while he was growing up. He doesn't have any connections there now as an adult, but still, you just never ever know what somebody's history is. And so going in and going, hey, my business is looking to expand in Asia. Does anyone have contacts in Malaysia, China, Philippines? Philippines is growing like crazy. And just follow up on those. I mean, even if it's just through email. I mean, China's hard. We have to kind of follow up through email, and I mean, they don't have social media and things like we do. But if you can find 1 or 2 good contacts in China, when this opens up, it could be really, really huge. So, so kind of just finding those little outliers. If you're going to see friends in a different state, who do you know there? Are they interested in a class? Can you somehow tie a class into that? Are there any people in your area that would be, because you can only get so big in your area right there. And there's already several diamonds there in Houston. It doesn't mean that Houston's tapped out and it's saturated. There's lots of people, but your market and your network is already, everybody knows you do this. So how can you expand outside of that? And a lot of that is just going to go, I got to get outside of myself. And that doesn't mean that you need to be traveling every single weekend or anything like that. But how can you just take advantage of the opportunities you already have when you're going to different parts of the state or whatever?
Yeah.
Or even just online and social media. Facebook is changing the way that they do things too, even with our classes. But I think I always have better results with Facebook Live videos anyways. Yeah. So even if it's just asking someone specifically or starting to build closer relationships with people that are in other markets and other parts of the United States. Our Fort Smith team is growing so fast right now. They are doing intro to oils classes. That's all they do. And they're calling them, for the most part, intro to oils classes, because Fort Smith is an area where this is all very new. It's like we were 4 or 5 years ago. So there are lots of pockets like that all across the United States. We just have to find them. And so just kind of start to think broader and cast that net wider instead of how can I expand my market? Yes, you can still expand with people you meet face to face through hobbies and experiences, but it's probably not going to be some huge new group that's going to, you know what I mean? That's going to be through making connections in other networks.
I do have that aunt, I think I told you about her in Newark, Arkansas. And I had talked to Rachel about that too. And so I'm trying to go out there and teach a class, but she feels bad because she feels like I'm going to drive 8 hours to get there and then, 2 people show up.
Good night.
Good night.
Did you hurt yourself?
It's a long story.
Okay. It's a long story. And then look who else came in here to say hi to me. Oh, goodness. Look at him. So
he's so pretty.
Yeah, and even Ramira did this. When I flew to Malaysia, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I sure hope people come to these classes." Like, But the thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people come.
Right.
If people are excited, if I've poured into her and she's excited, then it's worth it. And so you kind of have to just say, no, this is like this. Let me come do this for you. It would be good for me. It's a good experience for me. And the first 2 or 3 times I went up to Fort Smith, Rachel, there were like 3 people, and Rachel was like, "Oh my goodness, you keep coming up here and there's hardly anybody." But it ends up they're in our diamond leg. You know what I mean? And so I was like, it doesn't matter. It's worth it. It's fine. And so yeah, that's a big thing too. It's just being willing to do that. And when people start seeing that you're willing to do that, I think it also takes their belief in what you're doing a little bit deeper, because they realize how committed you are to it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad that I remembered this. I was like, I'm supposed to do a class. When am I supposed to do that class? And I was like looking, okay, good. I didn't miss it. I was actually afraid that I had scheduled it for last week and my brain was still crazy last week. So
no, you were smart. You said I should wait a week for when I come back.
Good. I'm glad I thought about that in advance, because otherwise I was kind of a mess last week. But now I just have puppy brain.
Thank you for doing this, Ashley, and thank you for my thank you that I got in the mail today.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have mine too.
Yes. Go send me a picture of your coffee, or if you're not a coffee drinker, I don't know, whatever you can get there that's not coffee. And
coffee or tea, it depends on my mood.
All right. I'll upload this recording to YouTube and send it to you so you can share it with others, okay?
Okay.
Bye. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.